Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is going to completely flip a concept humans have held onto for, well, millennia. We're unpacking Shufeng's Lifechanyuan philosophy, specifically its take on sacrifice and reverence. It's this superstructured, deeply thought-provoking framework that literally redefines how we connect with the divine and the natural world. So let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the text starts immediately with this absolutely visceral question. It asks, if I cut off your finger and solemnly offered it to you as a sacrifice, would you accept my offering? No way, right? It's a pretty jarring metaphor, but honestly, it's a brilliant analytical tool. By framing sacrifice this way, the source material forces us to stop and think about the actual mechanics of taking a piece of the world and offering it back to a higher power.
So let's unpack the logic here. The whole foundation of this philosophy is that literally everything, every plant, every animal, all of nature, already belongs to the greatest creator. There are inseparable parts of the divine. So taking a piece of nature to offer it back to the creator, the text argues that's just logically absurd. It says it's basically like cutting off the creator's own toes and proudly handing them right back to him. You really have to ask, would the greatest creator actually accept that? It highlights a massive inherent contradiction.
And that brings us to a really stark redefinition of terms. In this framework, taking a life for an offering, that's absolutely not reverence, not at all. Since you're actively destroying a piece of divine creation, even if you call it worship, this paradigm argues that it is in fact direct blasphemy against the ancestor of Buddha, the greatest creator. It's a complete 180 from how so many cultures throughout history have traditionally viewed the solemn act of sacrifice.
Section 2. Evolution of Ritual Offerings, the Illusion of Civilization.
If we look back at the ancient era, human history is full of sacrificing other humans to spirits, like literally burning people alive. The text classifies that era's practices as ignorant and understandably cruel. Now, fast forward to the modern era. We like to think we're super civilized because, hey, we stopped human sacrifice. Instead, we've shifted to animal slaughter, cattle, sheep, chickens, ducks. But the philosophy maps out this ideal future state we need to reach, one focused entirely on protecting all life and nature.
So, the crucial point is, while modern society pats itself on the back for ending human sacrifice, the underlying cruelty hasn't actually vanished. The source material points out that when we slaughter animals as offerings, sure, the external form looks different, but the fundamental, destructive essence, it's exactly the same. Because of that, this modern practice is deemed entirely unacceptable here. The idea is that the ancestor of Buddha, the greatest creator, would never ever accept love or reverence expressed through killing.
Section 3. The True Beneficiaries. Who really wants your sacrifice?
Think about it. If the divine doesn't want these offerings, who is actually on the receiving end? The philosophy contrasts two completely different sides here. On side A, we have the greatest creator, who just wants us to revere and actively protect nature. But then, on side B, the text identifies who actually consumes these sacrifices: demons and monsters. Yeah, the dark entities are the ones enjoying the cruelty. This framework completely strips the desire for sacrifice away from the divine and drops it squarely onto the demonic.
To make sure this theological argument really clicks, the author uses a massive cultural anchor. The text literally says, if you don't understand this truth, just take a look at Journey to the West. It's a classic. By tying these complex ideas about divine versus demonic desires to such a famous story, the philosophy makes the whole concept instantly relatable to anyone who knows the legend.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the text uses that literary reference to prove its point. It breaks down what these entities are actually feeding on during rituals. Spoiler alert, it's not reverence. They absolutely love people expressing raw fear and terror. They feed on humans begging for mercy. And if you look at the history in these tales, their absolute favorite, quote-unquote, best offerings were virgin boys and girls. It really solidifies the argument that demanding a life is, by definition, monstrous. Okay, let's see how this builds.
Section 4. A New Form of Reverence, Shifting the Paradigm of Worship.
And this brilliantly illustrates the philosophy's ultimate solution. The text plainly states that true reverence is revering and protecting nature and all life, which, honestly, makes perfect logical sense within this framework. Think about it. If destroying the creator's work is blasphemy, then showing genuine love means you have to actively protect his creations. You wouldn't honor a famous painter by setting their canvas on fire, right? No, you honor them by preserving their masterpiece.
That's the exact paradigm shift being asked of us here.
Which leaves us with this deeply compelling final question. If true reverence is, in fact, protecting life, how should modern society redefine its ancient rituals? This philosophy challenges us to take a hard look at our own traditions. Are our modern customs secretly carrying forward an ancient, destructive essence? It's a seriously provocative thought, asking us to realign our actions with preserving the natural world. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the structures around you, and I'll catch you next time.